Welcome to Gate City Insider. I'm Rosemary Plyben. Spring Furniture Market is coming up fast. The twice-a-year event brings buyers and sellers from all over the world to the Triad for inspiration, education, to network, and of course, to shop. The impact of the market extends well beyond the city limits of High Point. And with us today is Tammy Nagem, the president and CEO of the High Point Market Authority. Hello and welcome.
Hi, Rosemary. Thanks so much for having me.
Really glad to have you here. Okay, let's talk about the Home Furnishings Market and the Market Authority.
Yeah.
What is the difference and how do they work together?
So the High Point Market is the event itself.
Right.
So the twice-a-year Home Furnishings Market that is open to the trade, where buyers and sellers are set to meet to make home furnishings decisions for the next 6 months. The Market Authority is the organizing body of that market. So we are the sponsor, so to speak. Our organization handles sort of two sides of the business, both the marketing, setting the dates and promoting the show, as well as the logistics or operations side. So all the things we do to get ready for the guests to come to town.
Okay, so how long has the Market Authority been in existence?
So the Market Authority was created in 2001, and it was a partnership between the furniture industry itself and the city of High Point and the state of North Carolina. All came together to put together a group that could really concentrate on all the things that have to happen to make the market successful. And so prior to that, it was one of those things where people in our organizations in our community would just sort of raise their hand. You know, the Chamber of Commerce would say, okay, we'll help with transportation. Our Convention and Visitors Bureau said, okay, we'll do housing. And it just sort of grew and happened. But there was no one body that really was responsible for making sure the success of the event.
Okay, so let's go back, way back to the history. When did the market start in High Point, and how did that happen?
So the market started in 1909. As hard as that is to believe, we're over 100 years old. And it really grew out of the fact that about 90% of the hardwoods in the U.S. are found within a 90-mile radius of where we sit today. Mm-hmm. And so the availability of those hardwoods meant there was a lot of furniture manufacturers in this area. We all know that's a great part of North Carolina history and Southern Virginia as well. And so one day the folks who sold that furniture decided, you know what, instead of putting this on wagons and going up and down the East Coast to sell this product, why not set it up here and let our customers come to us? High Point happens to be the highest point on the railroad, so it made sense for that to be sort of the hub of that commerce.
Okay, so what exactly happened? Happened then, happens now?
Right, so lots of people ask that question. At the end of the day, High Point Market is a good old-fashioned trade show. Mm-hmm. We are connecting the buyer and the seller. The seller are those who make or import home furnishings. So these are the brands that you know, Ashley, Bassett, Lazy Boy, all those folks set up in High Point to sell their goods to people who purchase home furnishings to resell. So furniture stores, that could be interior design firms, architects, wholesalers, e-commerce, for example. Amazon, Wayfair, all those folks send buyers to High Point twice a year.
And this is not open to the public. This
Right.
is a trade event, buyers. So you have to have a pass. You have to be working the event to actually be there.
Absolutely, and that's a big part of the work that our office does, is to qualify those buyers. Mm-hmm. So those exhibitors, those manufacturers want to know when a buyer comes in the door that this person is eligible to buy, meaning that we know that they are reselling home furnishings. And so that's a big part of what we do, is really qualify people to come to the show.
Okay, what is designated a home furnishing?
Great question. Lots of people locally call us the furniture market. You will never hear anyone in our office call us the furniture market.
I'm guilty. I've called it that.
Absolutely.
I think that's what we call it.
We all do. But it really is home furnishing. So this is everything to do with the home. So this is everything from rugs to accessories to home decor to lighting to upholstery, case goods. It's across the antiques, across the gamut for what you would put to furnish your home. And there's also There's also things there that these buyers would need to, make a showroom in their own store. So, anything that really fills that space, wall decor, anything that is considered furnishings for the home would be at market.
How many different sellers are at the market?
About 2,000 exhibitors. And the thing that's very different about High Point is that we don't take place in just a convention center or a large building. We're in 180 buildings across downtown High Point. So those 2,000 exhibitors are spread out in about 13 blocks in our downtown area. So it really is the city coming alive.
About how many buyers come and from where?
So our total attendance is about 75,000, and about half of those are actual buyers who are coming to buy from our exhibitors. The other folks are from what we would call industry. So they are people who contribute to the industry. If you make the foam that goes in the sofa, you're going to want to be in High Point twice a year. If you make the hardware that goes on your nightstand, your customer is going to be in High Point. So it's all the folks who make up that industry will be in High Point, and they're from all over the world. 110 countries are represented by the attendees who come to High Point.
And so the things that are for sale at the market, you're not going to immediately see them in your local store. Is that right?
Absolutely. It takes a little while. This is that supply chain at work. So the trends and those that the retailers or the designers are coming to see now are going to probably hit the floor in about 6 months. So they're making purchases now that they will actually get shipped to their store in the coming months that would then be for sale for you and I to buy.
Okay, so you talk about trends, like what kinds of things, can you kind of give us some insight on some things we might see or that have kind of been trending recently?
Absolutely. Home furnishings has really taken lots of interesting turns since COVID. We all sat at home during COVID and decided, wow, this sofa is pretty tired, or I'm spending a lot of time in this house. I want to spend some money to make this more of a home. So we're seeing interesting trends, like people are very concerned about the sustainability of their home furnishings and their carbon footprint. So we're seeing that play out in a lot of the trends in home furnishings, as well as just a sense of wellness. We all want to be comfortable, and it's something that our kids are on and our pets are on and those kinds of things, and that might charge your phone right there inside your sofa arm. So you're seeing a lot of things that really speak to that comfort of home, as well as we always want to make sure that looks good. So you're seeing a lot of mixed metals, you're seeing a lot of desert tones in terms of color. So you're going to be seeing a little bit different than we've seen in past years, I think, coming out of COVID, because people are really looking for something different in their home.
Yeah. Okay, so the market is twice a year. Typically, when does that fall?
It's April and October, and usually the latter parts of the month.
Okay, but that's, so I know you said people ask you all the time if your job is part-time.
Yes. Yeah, so people ask all the time, so you do this in April and October, what happens the other times of the year? If you think about it in terms of a cycle of an event, for example, our registration will open for our October event, it will open in July. For the upcoming April market, it opened in January. And so we're pretty much full steam ahead once that happens. So once registration is open, all those logistics pieces have to already be figured out. You've printed brochures, the website is updated, all those kinds of things will happen in advance of that. So there's very little downtime after one market. We have a little bit of time for planning and to see what worked and make some changes.
Right.
But then pretty quickly after that, you're having to act on that because people are already starting their cycle of thinking of coming to High Point. Because this is a show that's not as easy to work as others, we do find people who know they've got to get that hotel room early. They're going to log on and see what new exhibitors are here, or go ahead and start mapping out their trip. So it's our team's job to make sure they have those resources available well in advance so they can do that planning.
And as far as the showrooms, the build-up starts weeks and weeks and weeks getting those ready, I would guess.
Absolutely. You really see that starting months ahead, because because keep in mind, these exhibitors are looking to really change up their space in such a way that they never want a buyer to walk by the door of the showroom and go, that looks like it did 6 months ago.
Before.
Exactly.
Right.
They want to see new, they want to see fresh. So we're moving walls, we're changing flooring. There's always a new coat of paint, really because that exhibitor wants to make sure that buyer comes in and sees what's new.
So how has the market changed over the years? You mentioned, back in the early 1900s, wagons were rolling up, right? And so obviously technology has changed it a lot.
Absolutely.
But what are some of the main differences that you have seen over your time?
I think technology is probably the number one, Rosemary. I think we are seeing buyers be a lot more savvy about how they're shopping the showrooms and what they're looking for from their exhibitors, as well as exhibitors are being more savvy on their side in terms of making sure that going through the showroom, that a buyer has a way to collect what they're interested in and be emailed those photos, maybe the minute they get to the elevator, communicating with those buyers and making sure that they're able to purchase in the time that is convenient for them, making sure that product hits their floors at the right time. All that supply chain work has really been enhanced by technology. I would say also we see trends in the physical. For example, if you come to downtown High Point, you'll see some buildings where there are no windows. Those buildings were built in the 70s, and the thought then was home furnishings was best displayed all with artificial light.
Right, controlled lighting.
Exactly. Yeah. Then you see a building that was built in the early 90s and it's all windows, because then the thought was that you want to do this with natural light. So even how the product is shown has changed over the years.
So technology is helpful, but it also, can be difficult. I mean, people are so used to not leaving their home, to doing things via Zoom.
Right.
How important is it to get people to come here, and why is the in-person component important?
Absolutely. We find that home furnishings is still one of those products that people like to touch and feel. If you are a buyer and you're wanting to resell that product to your customer, you want to be able to talk about how the fit is for that furniture, the scale. You want to be able to describe the fabric. You may even want to tell the story of what went into the design of that product, the hands that made that product. And those are all stories you get in High Point, because you are able to shop side by side with maybe the person who designed that product, or certainly those who had some hand in making it. And so that buyer's really able to get more out of that product than it's just a chair to sell to their consumer. Remember, we're filling people's homes, which is very close to their heart. And so making sure that we're able to communicate that to the end consumer is important.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that's why we see a lot of celebrity designers and things, because people already have a relationship or feel like they know that person. And so there's a trust that's already begun there.
Absolutely. I mean, we all love HGTV. That has changed the way we see home furnishings. It feels a lot more accessible these days. I mean, you're able to watch these shows and see what goes into making the decision for that product. And more than that, you're able to find a designer that you think their aesthetic is like yours. So you maybe want a product that Joanna Gaines endorses. And so being able to have those licensees as a part of what we do is a great addition.
All right, we're going to chat more with Tammy coming up in just a moment, because of course the market has a big impact, not just on High Point, but all of Guilford County. Yes, that comes into Greensboro. We are impacted at our restaurants, on our roads, at our B&Bs, at our hotels, you name it. There is a way to get involved. So we're going to talk about how businesses can get involved, how you maybe as an individual can get involved in the market as well, when we come back after this break. Welcome back to Gate City Insider. Today we are talking about the High Point Market, the home furnishings market, furniture market, as you probably know it and have called it for many years, the big show. You know, we hear so much about it happening. We see the uptick in traffic on the roads, in restaurants and hotels. We think about it as High Point, but this is an event that impacts Greensboro, all of Guilford County, and really spreads even further from Guilford County as well. Today we have with us Tammy Nagem, President and CEO of the High Point Market Authority. Welcome back. So glad to have you with us here today.
Thanks, Rosemary.
Talk about first, what is the impact on High Point for the market twice a year?
Absolutely. So, our core city certainly feels the impact of 75,000 people coming to town twice a year. Our population almost doubles. And we have a long history of making sure that these folks are welcomed and that our city's able to kind of handle that influx of people. Really, that impact, as you mentioned, is statewide. It's not just in High Point, because we don't have a lot of hotels, for example, in our city, and so needing to use not only Guilford County but our surrounding areas to really make sure we're able to handle all these folks coming to town is very important to us.
And this is historically, we've had a huge impact on this area and the state from this event.
Absolutely. $6.7 billion to the state of North Carolina. 202 million of those are just state and local taxes. So this is just from the influx of the property taxes that are paid by these buildings in Guilford County. That is the visitors coming to town. All those things really make up that economic impact.
Okay, so I know you partner with businesses, with individuals, and all kinds of agencies to get ready for this event every year. So how can businesses, they're thinking, I need to be more involved, I'm in hospitality, or, my business really could work, I think, with this. How do you do that? How does a business owner kind of get involved?
I would say the first great step is to reach out to our team at the High Point Market Authority and let us talk to you about what it is that you do and ways that we can help promote, or ways that we can make sure that market guests know about what you do. We do use almost 90 hotels in the area. So I would say the first step is, if your business is near one of those hotels, to make sure the hotel knows.
Right.
To send market guests over if they're looking for the services or the hospitality that you provide. We certainly depend on Greensboro, Winston, Archdale, Thomasville, all those areas around us to really house those guests. In High Point, many folks stay in private homes. That's also another way that locals can be involved. Of course, they're looking for homes that are usually close in, a little closer in, but certainly in some areas, they'll go a little bit further for that Airbnb to make sure that they find the right fit.
And really, I guess, knowing the dates of the market, knowing that this is happening, if you're a restaurant, having extra staff.
Absolutely.
And just kind of being prepared so that you can handle the influx of people coming in.
Absolutely. And it's not just the show dates. It's not just April 22nd through 26th. We will see exhibitors coming in to set up 3 weeks ahead of time. So it's almost like this crescendo up till the show. So you will start to see folks in town. You will start to feel a little bit more traffic, but certainly there is some lead up. Even as early as months before, we're doing construction that we talked about in the last segment. We're doing construction in those showrooms. So we may even have construction crews and those folks that maybe wouldn't be in our area otherwise that are here to do showroom work.
I mean, there is just so much that goes involved, for sure. What if you're an individual? Because, of course, the market is not open to the public. We can't go shopping there.
That's right.
But there are ways for individuals to get involved.
I think the best way is if you have a little bit of time and you want a seasonal, temporary position. There are all kinds of jobs, 15,000 jobs actually that come from just the event itself.
Just temporary jobs.
Just temporary jobs, absolutely.
What are those jobs?
Those are everything from working in a showroom. You might be at a front desk. You may be helping a salesperson, capture data on their buyers that come in the door. We have a very robust transportation system, so information staff is a part of that, van drivers, hotel bus hosts, for example. All those hotels I mentioned are served by a free shuttle that take market guests back and forth to town. We actually put a host or hostess on each of those buses just to answer any questions, to make sure everybody's getting on time, and that everybody knows if they need to register once they pull in, exactly where to go, and those sorts of things. So
an ambassador,
so to speak, to welcome them to town. It's probably the number one thing we hear from market guests is why they come back to High Point twice a year is the Southern hospitality. So any part of that we can do. I would also welcome guests if you or locals, if you see a guest in a grocery store or in a restaurant, you'll know them. They're wearing a little badge around their neck in most cases. Just say thanks for coming to our area.
Right.
That goes so far. Keep in mind that I feel like home furnishings is almost baked into our DNA. It's what we do here. That's not the case in the other cities that these folks may go to other trade shows in. They're just another trade show, for example. And so being recognized and being thanked for attending here is always a great plus.
Yeah, there is competition, and that is sort of new for us to realize. And where is that competition, and really what does that look like?
Well, it's interesting. It's new, but it's old. I would say in 100 years, we've seen Dallas, New York, Chicago, other cities have tried. Most recently, that has been Las Vegas. Lots of folks locally heard about that they were starting their own market. You know, Las Vegas opened. They have a show, but they're more of a regional show, and some of their product mix is a little different than we have here now. But we coexist as two shows that really serve this industry. But High Point has really maintained that title of being the premier home furnishings trade show. We are still the largest in the U.S. and we're the largest in the world in terms of footprint.
Wow. So how do we keep that going? What does the future look like?
I think the future is very bright for High Point, and I would like to think that we are really doing what we need to do to ensure that these folks see this as the home for home furnishings going forward. It's not just about new product, although that is the number one reason that people come. It's also education, it's networking, it's all the things that can really make their business better, and we concentrate on that. Really knowing from our customer what it is you need. Do you need to know what the latest software is for interior design accounting? Then let us make sure those folks are here and they're doing a panel discussion and that we're able to bring that information to you. We hear so often that people not only learn from the manufacturers who are talking to them about the product, but by sitting next to someone on a bus who also has a business like theirs, maybe 3 states away, and they're able to talk to them about what it is that sets their business apart. So it's making sure that we're giving a comprehensive experience to the buyers who come here.
And what about our manufacturers? What's the future like for them? How is that? What's the state of that economy?
Absolutely. COVID, as we talked about, that we all sat home and decided we needed more home furnishings.
Or new ones.
Or new ones, exactly. Home furnishings certainly saw a resurgence after COVID. And we had a hard time keeping up with that demand. I would say that's getting better. Our lead times are getting better. Our supply chain is loosening up a little bit. And so I think we are, it's a great time to be in home furnishings right now. So I would say the future is bright. While the manufacturing may not be domestic, it may not be in North Carolina or even the U.S., that home furnishing still has to be shown, and where it's being shown is in High Point, and that's the important part. We are seeing some manufacturing, especially on the upholstery side, and more of the sort of one-of-a-kind custom pieces are being manufactured here. We are seeing some of our plants open up and really almost this small scale maker spaces that are becoming very popular. social media has really contributed to that as well. Really, these makers have been able to put out a YouTube video about something small that they've made and really get some recognition. So it's really embracing that whole community and making sure there's a place for them in High Point.
Yeah, we talk a lot about, knowing where your food comes from, knowing where your furniture comes from.
Absolutely.
And, those stories, they make a big difference.
They
the
do.
People, I mean, we want to know the people. We want to have connections.
Absolutely. And home furnishings is so rich in that.
Right.
My dad worked for a furniture company for 36 years. I heard about High Point my entire life, but I also heard about what really goes into making that product. And so this is a narrative-rich product. I told someone the other day, I'm so glad I work in furniture or home furnishings. I'm not sure if I was in tools, the story would be that great. I'm sure those folks who make those wrenches have something that they can talk about that makes them great, but we have such a love affair with our home that it makes the product really something that people still want to experience.
All right, the market's coming up very quickly, the 22nd through the 26th. Of course, we know it kind of probably feels like it's already market time for you as you're getting ready for it. As I know that we'll be greeting people who have their name badges on. Yeah. There'll also maybe be some celebrity sightings around. Can you give us any hints of who we might see?
Those licensees do often come to High Point. A lot of times we don't know who those folks are until we get closer. We have announced our keynote series, and it does include Joanna Gaines, which we're excited about. She's going to be one of our panelists. But there's all kinds of folks who you may get a glimpse in an airport of someone famous.
Make your head turn.
Absolutely,
Wait,
you have to look twice, especially with HGTV, because I feel like, again, we're a little bit closer to those people than maybe we have been in the past.
Right, I love it. Well, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us. I really appreciate it. It's so much interesting. We hear so much about the market. We talk about it so much, but most of us have never stepped foot there.
Right.
So to learn a little bit about the inner workings and how it impacts all of us, I think just helps us to be better hosts for it as a whole.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Rosemary.
Really appreciate it. Okay, so don't forget, if you want to know a little bit more about it, you can go to highpointmarket.org. That's a great way to just get involved, to find out a little bit more, to get your bearings, find out the dates, know when you need to ramp up your reservation systems, or have that room ready at your house. Really appreciate you spending a little time with us. Thank you so much. That is our time from all of us here at GTN. Have a great day.